So to summarize, happiness is a mindset, and the mindset begins with emunah, that everything is from Hashem, whether it seems or doesn't seem positive, is always going to be positive. Perhaps, as we spoke about in other classes, and as I mentioned in the recording that I sent today from my 6th grade Mishnah, which is in our chat, perhaps when you enter a scenario which seems like a vacuum, an emotional vacuum, a mental vacuum, a spiritual vacuum, which seems to deplete, it's actually an invitation for your input. Whatever God gives you, say thank you. And when God puts a person in a situation where it seems to be a deficit, it's an invitation for your inner self to come out and be God's partner. Yeah, it requires to get out of a conventional zone. It requires to get out of a comfort zone. And nevertheless, that's what we're here for. That brings us to anava, that brings us to humility, that accepting that everything I have, everyone I have, and have or don't have, that's from Hashem. I don't have to be upset. I don't have to get angry. I don't have to be sad. This is a symphony that God wrote for me. And then brings us to the next point, which is the ultimate. Gratitude. Hoda'ah. Gratitude is intertwined and absolutely necessary for a healthy and happy life. The name Yehudi, Jewish, is implicit to have gratitude. To be thankful. Hoda'ah, Yehudi, thankfulness. One who is thankful for everything at all times because they recognize it's from Hashem. People often ask us, I was actually asked this question today from one of my students in Silverstein. Doesn't get God, and I used to ask this question, as a matter of fact, when I was a kid. I asked my mom when she started becoming more observant, I was like, don't you think God gets tired of the same prayers every single day? Same blessings every single day? Isn't it cumbersome? Is it repetitive? Number one, absolutely not. God, as it were, needs our davening. He's vulnerable to us. Otherwise, it's not a relationship. If he doesn't need anything from us, could you imagine relating to someone who needs nothing from you? No vulnerability? That's not a relationship. He doesn't need companionship. He created this need. There's a lot to be said, and we have many classes on a much deeper level than this. However, the gratitude is for us. It's for us. Gratitude in itself brings us a two-point reality, about paradigm shift. Number one, it allows us to recognize that every single detail in itself is absolutely vital in our life. Whether we could understand where this fits in now or don't understand, when we get a puzzle, First, we look for the corners, for the parts which seem conventional, so we could create a frame. But as we pick up, or when I used to build Lego, and I still build Lego with the kids from time to time, there are parts which I know are, I don't build out of the plan. I never build out of the plan. It's just always in the mind. So, but there are parts I recognize might be necessary for later on. So I put them aside, even though they have no use right now. There are parts of our lives which we understand right now are absolutely vital. And there are parts where we might not understand how this fits at all, but nevertheless, if God brought us, it means it's vital and it fits and is going to fit. Don't dismiss it. The Gemara tells us, the Mishnah tells us, just like we have to thank Hashem for that which seems good, we have to thank Hashem for that which doesn't seem good, because it's the same God. This, I was explaining, and this is on the chat from today's class, from the 6th grader, a parent gives you life, they give you sustenance, they raise you prizes and this. Oh, mommy, daddy, I love you, thank you, you're the best. What if your parent says, now I have to take away the toy? I have to take away some privilege. No, you're such a bad. Wait, the same one who gave you life, the same one who invests in you, the same one is the one that takes away. What do you think? Their personality changed, where they're Jekyll and Hyde? There are some elements which we understand and can internalize and says openly thank you. But the higher level good transcends logic. That's why Kabbalah Chassidus explains that something which seems negative stems from a much higher level than that which seems positive. It's just the way it presents itself. Positive is positive because we could recognize it logically and emotional. So it makes sense, so it makes us feel good. We like it, we can connect to it. Why does it seem negative? Because I don't understand it. Why? How Holocaust? I just doesn't understand, it doesn't configure. Just because it doesn't configure doesn't mean it's not good. Just like a baby, you take away a toy, the baby says, I hate you! It's for the baby's good. It doesn't understand yet. And that's only a difference between several decades between us and our children. Between us and God's infinity. We might not ever understand it, nevertheless. That's why Judaism puts such an emphasis. It's implicit to our names, Jewish, Yehudim, to gratitude. That's why for everything we say a blessing. We recognize the source of everything as God. And we thank Him for it. And we're going to unwrap this soon. But one thing for sure, gratitude must always be verbalized. Always. It's absolutely paramount for our psychological well-being and for our relationships and so on and so forth to verbalize gratitude. Not keep it philosophical and theoretical and logical in our mind. For two reasons. Number one, when we verbalize gratitude, it intensifies the gratitude. Hasidic philosophy, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, in a monumental discourse, explains that speech isn't just an expression of our minds and of our emotions. That's the external function of speech. But in actuality, speech has a quality that it goes into the depth, to the quintessential. You know what quintessential means? The fifth element. Quint, 5, essential, which is the fifth element, the potential. It goes into the quintessential aspect and reveals it from the internal outside. When we speak, I'll give you an example. What is the ultimate sgula, to stop an argument? Huh? Say it in English, please. Some of us don't speak Hebrew here. Silence. Why? Because the more we communicate an emotion, we're not just, I love you, I love you. That's what I feel. I have to communicate it because I can't take my heart, as the Rabbi Rashab says in the discourse, can't take my heart and place it inside of you. I can't take my brain and place it inside your mind, inside your head, to make you understand what I think. So I have to tell you. But even more, and much more important, the more I communicate it, the more it reveals from the essence and intensifies the emotion. So the more positive, the more I tell you I love you, the more intense the love becomes. The more amplified, the greater the connection. Same thing goes with angry words. The more I speak angry words, the angrier I get. You ever started like in an argument? It was like a easy. It seemed like a no-brainer. Nothing's going to go wrong. I just want to say some. I have some quote unquote constructive criticism to give you, and within 20 minutes you're like throwing cats and dogs at each other. How did that happen? Because the more we communicate an emotion, the more intense it becomes. That's why we have to abstain from speaking negative words. Because we're not just expressing our emotions, we're amplifying them.
Rabbi, I have a question about that. On Shabbos, you went through the steps of how to rebuke. So in the case of rebuking, would you say that even when we're rebuking, we shouldn't speak negative, or it's okay?
Absolutely not speak negative. You want to speak up to the person. You want to show them how good they are, how this is not them. Sometimes the ultimate rebuke is to show them how great they are. There's a lot to be said about that. Because not necessarily you say something constructive criticism, it might push the person off, it might shut them down from you, and they might not want to hear anything else. Even with your greatest intent. You just create a barrier between you and this person. Now that's it. The person's not ready to listen to you and doesn't want to hear. So it's just the opposite. The more you show them how great they are, how good they are, how much potential is for more. And what's holding it back is this negative, but this is not you. You're better than that. You speak up to the person. Somebody asked me the other day, how are you able to elicit? You're able to bring out the best in people. Most of the time. Sometimes I bring out the opposite, but I'm a work in progress, as they call it. It's because I learned from my first boss, Rabbi Osher, how to see the goodness in every person and bring it out. You see it. You have to see it. You know it. You see that a person's good. How do you know he's good? Because God made this person. As we spoke in the beginning of the class, the fact that God made this means he's good. Yes?
All right, so you say you have to see the good in person, and that's what you want to convey to elicit the best response. You're saying as a rabbi, and that's your role, because your role is to see things in the best light. But the rest of us who are lay people in our regular relationships, we're not rabbis. Right. So how do we always have that intention for that outcome?
Johnny, you're mistaken. You're mistaken. You are a rabbi. You're a rabbi. You're not a reform rabbi because you're a woman, but you're a rabbi. You know what rabbi is? Rosh Bnei Israel, the head of the Jewish people. You realize in your home, in your community, that your circle, each one of us has influence over past, present, and future. Right. And so at that moment, you have to always think, whatever decision I'm making now is influencing right now. As we spoke about last week, right now is the youngest you've ever been, the oldest you've ever been, and the youngest you'll ever be.
Right, I'm not diminishing my role as the head of everything. I'm just saying, how do we get that outcome when we don't have the mantle of being a rabbi?
Well, you don't have to be a mantle. Just see the goodness in every person.
Right. We see the goodness in every person. But rather than a rebuke, we say things with intention and with seeing the good in them. But if we're not rabbis, I mean, can we get the same outcomes as a rabbi
We
would?
should try.
Of course, words that come from the heart penetrate the heart and bear their effect. So says our Talmudic sages. It has to come from here, not from here. See them for who they are. The majority, if not all people, for the most part, want to be good. They're trying their best. But again, some of them don't have the insight and the foresight. It's not their fault. They weren't raised this way. But certainly you could see the goodness. What do they have? You know, there's a very famous anecdote. There's a bus driver. He makes a stop, picks up a few people, and a dog walks in. And a dog he saw this dog come from the bakery with a bag of cold cuts in his mouth. And he gets in and he's watching this dog come from the bakery with a bag of cold cuts in his mouth. Then he sees him, he gets off, and the bus driver is curious. He follows the dog upstairs to a door. And then he doesn't come in, and then the door is locked, so he comes in, he goes from the fire escape. And he's watching in amazement this dog. He's like, went shopping. And eventually the bus driver knocks on the resident's door. He said, I have a question for you. This dog is it's a wonder dog. I want you to go shopping for his cold cuts, go get on the bus, get in the right stop, get off the right stop, deliver. This is wonder dog. This is the third time this dog forgot his key this week. It's called the negativity bias. We notice what's wrong and that overshadows all the goodness. Sometimes the negativity is not in the person, it's really in our mind, in our perception, in our expectation. Which basically hinders everything. It confuses everything. See the goodness. See how this person has this good. Okay. You know, I didn't like I'll be honest with you, I didn't like the former administration.
No.
But I'm not the kind. But there are people. But there are goodness that came out of it. They're good. You can't say that. No, they do good things. You can't let. I agree with certain things. They don't agree with certain things. Just like the same thing with this administration. There's certain things I agree with, certain I don't agree. You can't let your perception just focusing on the negativity bias and this is all bad, all of it. No. Every human being is created by God, so see the goodness and bring that out. The more positive you speak, the more you bring it out. You elicit in the person. Because the words not only reveal, they elicit as well. Words have power. Be careful what you say.
So, can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
So, sometimes the closest people to you, they don't listen to you. But other people that they don't know you, they can listen to you. And they respect you.
And that's why sometimes you have to know. It takes a village.
Even whatever I'm going to tell them.
That's why it takes a village. Sometimes, there was a woman I saw in a video that she came to the Rebbe, says, I have big shalom bias issues. I have an issue. I try to speak to my husband and this, he doesn't listen. And but I want. The Rebbe says, perhaps speak to one of his friends who does, that he respects, and let it come from him. The Rebbe himself says, there's things that people won't listen because they heard the Lubavitcher Rebbe said it. So don't say my name, say some book said it. Bishmi or lo bishmi. And it's not about getting the credit. It's about getting it done. So yeah, but one thing for sure I could tell you, that if whatever situation Hashem puts us in, He puts the right people next to us, the right resources, so we could we can get to the solution. Okay. Yeah.
Can I say a word? The lady brought up an interesting question. So how do you deliver comment or feedback to the person you love? Typically what works is that first you praise the person. You say the most wonderful thing about it. Because you can always find something great about whoever it is. Significant other, son, daughter, parents. Then you deliver the message that you want to deliver. the growth message. Like in a nice way. And then you deliver again the positive message praising some other things that you like.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So good, bad, and then
It's not bad.
Negative things, something like 5 or 6 times
Yes.
stronger. So the
Positive,
amount of
negative.
positivity that you have to have in that message has to, exceed the growth components. Would you agree, Rabbi?
I do agree. This is Osher Kavitsky. I agree with his message.
Rabbi uses exactly that when he gives me
Also, when it comes to rationality, to logic, anybody here who has given a class before or needed to present something knows, and I'm a testament to this. You could come in with one thread of logic that you want to present, but the more you talk, the more it expands, the deeper it gets. Because again,
למילה יש כוח.
לא רק שלמילה יש כוח, כוח הדיבור, speech in itself not only reveals but intensifies, to get to the essence, it reveals from potential to actual. That's why woman is synonymous with speech, with communication, because a woman develops everything. A woman develops everything. You give her a conception, you give her the potential seed, she creates a human being. You give the Gemara says this. You give a woman a house, she'll make a home. You give her food, she'll make a meal. Whatever you give the woman, because she develops it, she's the closest to Ein Sof, to infinity, constantly developed from potential to actual. The man is a potential. The woman is the one that actualizes. Speech is synonymous with the feminine strength. The more we communicate, the more it doesn't just reveal what's in there, it elicits from potential and brings that to actual. Well, this applies to gratitude. The more verbal we are with our gratitude, the more it intensifies, the happier we become. It is so imperative to tell the people around you, thank you for this and thank you for that. Thank you, Hashem, for this. That's why we have to make a bracha. That's why we have to make blessings. It doesn't just come natural, and we have to understand this. And later on, because later on we complain, how come making businesses, so how come my account, how come I didn't get this account? Why? I'll tell you one thing, the Rebbe said many times. There's a woman who wrote to the Rebbe. She was having marital issues. She runs to the Rebbe, Rabbi, I live in Eretz Yisrael in Yerushalayim, but Parnas is very difficult. I'm married, but Shalom Bayis is difficult, and raising my children is not so easy these days because Parnas is not easy, and so on and so forth. The Rebbe, I need a bracha. The Rebbe says, from your letter, I understand that A, you're married. B, Baruch Hashem, you're blessed with children. C, you have the merit of living in Eretz Yisrael in Yerushalayim. And you have a job. And you have a home in Yerushalayim in Eretz Yisrael with your husband and your kids. From my perspective, it seems you're very blessed, but you don't recognize it. If you want more, start being more grateful in your life. Because gratefulness is a channel in which all the blessings come. Start making brachot. You have say a bracha. Say thank you to Hashem. How hard it is to say Baruch Atah Hashem. How hard it is. Do you understand how it is? Could you imagine? We learned in our meditation class. In order for this cup, for this bottle, for any of this to be here, it wasn't just delivered for Queens. It came from farms, from Mexico, from California, from this, from that. You know how much Hashem put in this person, this international, this boat, this fuel for us to have this here. Do you know, it's how blessed we are. Without verbal gratitude is empty. Now, very famous mothers could relate to this, and maybe fathers as well. A child is used to having his food, his dinner plate, give it to him every single night. But as typical, some children unfortunately don't recognize the hard work and the labor of love that was put into making this food. And the child just leaves the plate and gets up and goes back to his room. No thank you, mommy. No thank you, daddy. No, nothing. And when his mother wants to show him, So what does she do? Next night, the mother puts an empty plate. Dinner served. Says, mommy, this is empty. What? No, just the opposite. The mom says, because you don't recognize how blessed you are. You take it for granted that it's always here. If we want our children to be grateful, we have to show them gratefulness. We have to speak in a grateful tone. We have to speak up at all times, never down, never put them down. Certainly not curse next to them or be negative. This one and this one and this one, because we're showing them the opposite of emunah, the opposite of acceptance, the opposite of humility, and certainly the opposite of gratefulness. So they learn that, and when they would complain, why you speak to me this way? You have no right to speak. Well, what did you teach me? So, as l'chaim v'chai here, he said, let's make a resolution. I'll tell you one thing. L'chaim v'chai first of l'chaim. To all of those who need, let us all be grateful for our lives, for each other. L'chaim. I'll tell you one thing, and with this I'll leave you for today. There was a study, and we spoke about it in our Shalom Bayit classes. There's a study that demonstrated a strong couple versus a weak couple. How do you know if you're a strong couple or a weak couple? One particular gauge. How many times did you thank each other in a course of 48 hours? 2 to 4 times, you're in a great place. You're in a good place. Above 4, you're in a great place. Below 2, you're in a very dangerous place. How is that a gauge? Because often we mistake that the thank you is for the other person. It's very good for the other person to hear that thank you. It's courtesy, right? But in reality, the gratitude is for ourselves. When we verbalize it, again, we elicit it from potential to action, and we start seeing, hey, like we spoke about last week, when we did that exercise. It's not enough just to say, I got a compliment. Who gave you the compliment today? What did they give you a compliment about? Like, really delve into it. Think about this. A couple who doesn't thank each other at least 2 to 4 times in the course of 48 hours means one thing. You think that everything is on autopilot. That of course she's going to do this for me. Of course he's going to do this for me. Of course he's going to go pick up this stuff for me. Of course he's going to go to work for me. Of course she's going to pick up the kids. Of course. It's a given. What's the question? It means you're living on autopilot, God forbid. And a marriage that goes on autopilot is on the way down. You can't notice at least 2 to 4 things that was done positively for you from the other person. They picked up the kids. She went to work. He went to work. He picked up the groceries. He brought this over here. You can't recognize that someone is going out of their way for you. If you don't, then what you're going to recognize is what they're not doing for you. And that's going to be the reality. Couples and families and Jewish people. We are Yehudim, Lashon Hoda'ah, thankfulness. We have to thank. How many good things. I want you to understand one thing. Common courtesy. Somebody opens your door for you downstairs in the building. A stranger will press a button for you in the elevator. Thank you so much. But your own spouse who's day in and day out puts in nonstop. Of course they're going to do it. What, they're not going to do it? We shouldn't treat the mailman better than we treat our own spouses. Treat the mailman nicely. Every person, show them. Thank them. Every human being that always know, because the more you do, the happier you'll become. Because the more you're in not just inviting, the more you're amplifying goodness in your life. You start seeing people as good, and people have so much goodness. Okay, they don't have this, but look at what they did, and look at this, and look at this. It becomes a reality. Okay, so now, let's summarize. Happiness requires a healthy and holy mindset. Holy and healthy mindset. What is this mindset? First of all, emunah, faith. Everything's from Hashem. Everything's from Hashem. Number 2, anava, humility. So Hashem, that everyone and every experience I have, strengths and limitations, ups and downs, all from the same God who really loves me. We all, how the saying goes? We have a real God who really believes in us to really serve Him correctly. And wherever He really puts us. Life is not a comedy show. It's not a sitcom with a laugh track behind it. It's scripted and everybody's going to be laughing. And there's going to be music behind you. It's real. But Baruch Hashem, it's real. And then absolutely paramount to happiness and a healthy life. And it shows that grateful people have a healthier living. As we learned last week, they tend to exercise more. They tend to be more productive in life. In Vietnam, there was a whole entire study that showed the POW from Vietnam who had gratitude suffered less PTSD. Because if it's not a conflict, and we'll really get into next week in the encore part deuce. But it's a very important point that you brought up, and we need to delve into it. But in as much as gratitude is absolutely paramount to a holy and healthy living, it's just as important to verbalize it. Thank each small thing that someone does for you, say thank you. Say thank you. Sing it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so important. I can't, it's like I'm going to tell you. Just got to sing it. Just got to sing it.
Thank you.
No, thank you. No. Thank you. No. I insist.
Rabbi Osher,
Yeah.
regarding to thanking your spouse, so you said few things. Isn't it going to be repetition every day?
Nope.
So you should do it not repetition?
Because you know what becomes a repetition, not thanking? Taking for advantage, taking for granted, and eventually the relationship goes down the hill.
No, you don't.
I'm telling you. It doesn't matter how many times. It doesn't matter.
It's the same doorman that opened the door for you. And you keep saying thank you.
You know, the Rebbe, when after Birkat Kohanim, by Chabad tradition, we have Birkat Kohanim 3 times on the Yomim Tovim.
You guys do Birkat Kohanim every day?
No. Sephardic do. But by Chabad, the minhag is to do it by Yomim Tovim. Yeah. This is however you're going to look at it, from a Sephardic perspective, or for Chabad perspective, the Kohanim have a obligation, a biblical obligation. You have to bless the Jewish people. And yet, when the Kohanim would come down from the podium where they would bless, and 770 would go up to the Rebbe's podium, and they would bless on the Birkat Kohanim. When they would come down, the Rebbe would thank each and every one of them individual. Thank you, Yeshokiach. Thank you very much. Somebody asked the Rebbe, somebody once said, Rebbe, why do you have to thank them? It's their obligation. He says, yes, it's obligation. Nevertheless, I'm thankful to the fact that they're doing it. Sometimes we take advantage. Of course, he has to do it. She has to do it. This is their job. This is what they signed up for. That's their commitment. No. Yes, that's true. That's from their perspective. But for your perspective, are you aware that someone's going out of their way for you? Yes, it's their responsibility. And yet, don't be uncouth. Only in Western culture, children could say to their parents, you gave birth to me, you owe me. Of course we owe you. But it's for your benefit to be thankful. Yeah.
Rabbi, we thank God for what we are blessed with. Is it wrong to pray for more or for what we don't have?
Yes, of course. No, it's not wrong. It's absolutely that's the nature of the actual prayer. Davening doesn't mean to pray. Davening means to connect. The actual mitzvah of prayer, which is one of the 613 mitzvot, is when you notice a deficiency, turn to God and thank and ask God. I need Abba and Shemaim. Oh, I have a story for you. I'm sorry. I gotta tell you a story. No. For this story, I'll tell you how I got here. I'll tell you how I got here. I was in Cleveland. I was a rabbi in Cleveland, and for one reason or another, I ended up here in New York. I was promised a certain job, didn't pan out. I needed a special school for one of my children. That didn't pan out. I left a great position in a home that was brought to me by the community in Cleveland. I came over here, and all of a sudden I find myself,
in New York.
Huh?
You found yourself in New York.
And not in New York. Not in New York. I had no problem with New York. I had an issue with the very fact that I felt that everything was for nothing. And eventually, 2-3 months later, I thought I made a big mistake, and I almost fell into depression. I'm not a kind of person who goes to depression ever. My name is Osher, means happiness. I'm always happy, no matter what. For me to go to that level, I felt that I messed up my purpose. I felt that's it. I left Cleveland. I made a mistake. I listened to people I shouldn't have listened to. Because in my heart, I knew I shouldn't. I felt I shouldn't. I remember coming to a wedding of one of my students in Cleveland. They did in Crown Heights. And I came. I didn't have $1. I didn't even have $1 in my pocket. And I come there, and they all ask me, how are you doing? And I was like, I didn't know I would answer. I had no idea what to answer. It's like I was like crying just 2 hours before that. Like I didn't know. It's like maybe I messed everything up. And all of a sudden, in Crown Heights, you have certain people who look like they're paupers, but they're really secret tzaddikim. You don't know who they are. Like says around the Baal Shem Tov, there's hidden tzaddikim, and in Crown Heights, you certainly have them. This guy walks up to me, older man.
Holy.
He's like a little long hair. He comes to me and says, "You have some tzedakah in the morning. You have some tzedakah?" And I really didn't, and I felt so bad. So I ran to somebody I knew. I said, "Can I borrow $1?" And he said, "Give me $1." I ran back to the man and I said, "Here." And he looks at me and says, "Why do you look not happy?" So I told him, "Look, I don't know who this guy is. I'm not going to open up in the middle of a wedding to a stranger. Like, I'm going to tell him." So I didn't have even a chance to say anything. And he tells me, look, before you go to sleep tonight, speak to God. And this is what you should tell him. Abba, Daddy, Baba June, Papa Shka, I don't know how to say it, whatever it is. You created me. You gave me my life. You gave me my family, and you give me a responsibility for them. I need help. I need help. I said, okay. That was interesting. I went away for a few minutes. I come back. He disappeared. I wanted to bring somebody else in. He disappeared. I couldn't find him. That night I came home to my mom's basement. That's where I was. I left a home for a basement.
In Great Neck?
Not in Great Neck, in Brooklyn. Not in Crown Heights, in Flatbush. And I remember going to sleep that night, the Kriyat Shema. After I said the Shema, I started saying, and I just broke out crying. Months and months of pent up, just let it all out. And then that's what I said. I said, Tati Abba, you made me. I just repeat exactly. I don't know, I messed everything up. I don't know where else to go. I don't know where else, what should I do? That was Thursday. Friday night, typical to me, I come late to shul. And one of my friends from Cleveland was there, and I told him, listen, Shalom Bear, Mendelssohn. You know Mendelssohn from Queens, some of you might know him. His brother. He and I were like partners over there. So I tell him, listen, I'm going back to Cleveland. That's it, I'm done. I have nothing else here. I called my students in Cleveland and says, yes, we were waiting for you. He said, before you go back to Cleveland, I'm going to give you a number. His name is Rabbi Gazinski.
Oh, wow.
He's a slave driver. But whatever he demands of you, he's demanding of himself. He's a straight to a very, very truthful person. I said, I came from Mrs. Kazin. No, she's a general. I could deal with it. I called, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's crazy.
How many years ago?
15.
You get to go in 15 years.
You see, here's the thing. Speak to Hashem. Speak to Hashem.
You were married at that time that you were...
Yes.
15 years old?
Yes, he married young.
He was with the
Now the Purim party.
The Purim party. Yeah, listen. Okay, those of us who wants to party hardy. Okay, so l'chaim l'chaim bracha. I gotta pause the recording before we speak. L'chaim l'chaim bracha, l'chaim l'chaim bracha, l'chaim l'chaim bracha. Much success in being happy, l'chaim. In a week from now, in about a week, we're all going to go to the Ohel. I'm going either the Ohel or the Rebbe's room in 770, the Rebbe's personal room. I'm going to be setting up this week, Emir Hashem. I'm going to announce it in Shul on Shabbat morning in our chats, because it's the anniversary of the previous Rebbe's Hilula, and the anniversary in 1951 when the Rebbe assumed leadership. It's a very, very opportune day. It's a day of miracles. It's a month of miracles. We could all join together. We could all go as a community, and Baruch Hashem ask for everything we need materially and spiritually together in a revealed and seen manner.
What day is that?
It's the Rebbe's birthday?
No, the Rebbe's anniversary of the leadership and the Hilula of the previous Lubavitcher. Which day?
Yeah.
Which day do you like?
10th of Shabbat.
10th of Shvat. You'll be online for 3 hours. You want 10th of Shvat?
It's her birthday on
Okay, then we got to do it around you. What's your name?
Hannah.
Chana. What's your last name, Chana?
Oh, Malak. Well, my own is Kohanim, but his is Malak.
Malakan. Okay. So we're going to do it as close as possible to your birthday because it's very important to go on. Your birthday is your Rosh Hashanah. But here's the thing. We're going to go and we're going to, first of all, the Rebbe often said, if they write to me about the good things, they would have much less reason to write to me about the positive things. When you write the letter, say all the good things are happening, all the good people around you. Thank Hashem for all the goodness. And by the way, I need A, B, and C as well. We'll continue this next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.